Hey, man, tonight, rockin' boxes out, baby. Yours truly is quite the mess. You guys are in for a treat. Guys, please welcome to the show. You know, it's been a great week so far. Nights of Halloween, Tribulation Studios and Rockinboxes presents this evening, one night only, Jimmy Lee Combs, buddies, guys, girls, everybody. And ooh, hey, how's it going, Jimmy?
Doing great, man. I'd say with all those interviews and looking at your computer monitor, something happened to your eyes there.
It's been quite the week, let me tell you, man. Oh, man.
That's great. Some really awesome guests you've had on the show.
Oh, man, thanks a lot. It's been a lot of fun, and you know, you are this one I was really looking forward to as well, just like every day. I mean, it's been quite the ride, that's for sure.
Thanks.
So how you doing?
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm really glad to be on the show. This is exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, we're obviously doing something different. You know, the nights of Halloween, and yeah, you know what? Let's just, Jimmy, let's just get right into it, okay? Let's also thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you know, you guys are so busy doing whatever you guys are doing, and you know, I really do appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about what you've done in the past, and one of your projects that really you know, is the Hans Crippleton. I want to talk about Hans Crippleton. Talk to the Hans. What's going on? What's that all about?
Talk to the Hans.
Talk to the Hans. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a play on the main character's name, and yeah, it's a hilarious, outrageous, politically incorrect zombies versus hillbillies kind of movie. It's Heart and Fire Productions' first feature film, and it came from Kevin Ward. He works at a haunted house, and he does a lot of special effects makeup. And I met him on a short film of mine, Reign of the Vampire, that we'll talk about. And anyways, we came off that film, and we were, you know, talking about what the next project was going to be. And I really found his character that he created, Hans Crippleton, this haunted house character that he would really go out and interact with customers and stuff in line and do all these funny little things. And he's got this little hand that he does and these hillbilly teeth, and it's really hilarious. And so I thought that was really endearing and would be funny for a movie. And so he had wrote a script, a 60-page script, and he had other characters in the Hans Crippleton universe in the family, and he did comic strips of them over the past years. And there's like a cousin Bumpkin and Mama and all these characters that he already had created. And so yeah, once I read the script, it was really hilarious. We sat down, and I decided we're gonna shoot it like mockumentary style, so kind of like The Office. We have quick zooms ins and outs, and it was going to be very kind of handheld and like This Is Spinal Tap kind of mockumentary. And so that's how we shot it. And it was like a day in the life of this hillbilly family, and they have this tie to a zombie curse. And every Halloween, the zombies come to this farm and invade the Crippletons. And as the movie progresses, we find out why this zombie curse is and why it always comes to the Crippleton family. And yeah, so a couple weeks after reading the script, we went into pre-production really fast and went into production even faster. And Kevin casted and did all the molds and such for the characters and the prosthetics. And we were filming probably within a couple months of the script and the idea and everything. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I got a lot to say about it, but yeah, that's kind of an introduction.
That's wonderful. Is Kevin a really good friend of yours? You guys work together on a lot of projects, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we met on Reign of the Vampire, and we've had a really good collaboration on projects over the years. So,
and that's awesome. That's a great thing, because my next question was actually about your project in 2012, Ring of the Vampire. What's happening with that project? I know it went you know, to sleep for a little bit, and what do you got going on with that? Is it going to be coming out soon?
So that's a project that's been sitting in post-production for a while now. So what was really cool about that is that my original intention was Reign of the Vampire was to make a horror anthology back in 2012, and it was going to start with the Reign of the Vampire segment. And so, you know, we started filming on it. There had to be a character that needed to be recast in the film, and so I recast it, and that's how I met Kevin. And so Kevin plays the villain in Reign of the Vampire, and I found out on that set that Kevin also did special effects, and he had provided some for Reign of the Vampire. There's this really cool decapitation scene. It's basically Kevin's head and Kevin's character, and he did his own, you know, prosthetic head thing, and we hack it off at the end of that short film. And so once that one wrapped, that's when we had started talking about what our next project would be, and things came together really fast with Hans Crippleton that I was pretty much able to get a rough cut edited before diving right into the first feature film, which I was really excited to do a feature. And then since then there's been Terror Tales and Bored as Hell, and unfortunately it just kind of put Reign of the Vampire on the back burner for now. But like I said, it's in a rough cut form, and it just needs to be polished more. And someday it'll see the light of day, I say. But yeah, that's probably one of my only unreleased projects right now as of recent.
That's awesome. Sorry, I'm just having some food, some brains.
Brains,
Yeah, brother.
Like brains.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's Halloween. We're having fun.
Great to have.
So I want to know about your anthologies. You have a passion for anthologies. Where does that come from? You know, does it come from? You go ahead.
No, yeah. So definitely from when I was a kid. I grew up on horror movies a lot. My brothers exposed me to a lot of the R-rated stuff, and Friday the 13th and Jason and you name it, Chucky, all the classics. I grew up on horror, and I have a passion for movies and cinema in general, but especially horror. And so anthologies, you know, I've always been a big fan of both Tales from the Crypt, for that matter. The old school movie from like the 70s, Tales from the Crypt. And then, of course, the TV show with the Crypt Keeper on HBO. And I really love the Amicus line of horror anthologies, as well as Creepshow, of course. I don't think there's not a horror anthology fan out there that doesn't know Creepshow. And that's one of my personal favorites, Creepshow and Creepshow 2. And I've always loved those style of horror films and the non-linear narrative to those. That, you know, there could be different stories that you can invest in each one, and a lot of them have like a wraparound story or something cool. And so, yeah, and when it came time for Terror Tales, it was at a point where we were doing Bored as Hell, our web series, and I figured to get another feature out as well, it would be manageable to do a horror anthology, so that way, you know, I could be like, okay, I can film this segment while we're filming these episodes of Bored as Hell, and kind of do things simultaneously, and then you know, schedule out the next segment of Terror Tales and then the next. And, you know, rather than being tied to, you know, like 3 straight months or 6 straight months of like a traditional production, or like feature per length time of you know, doing it. So it allowed me more flexibility to do both projects. And you know, and I really wanted Creepshow to be or not Creepshow, I wish. I really wanted Terror Tales to be a love letter to Creepshow. Terror Tales will never be as good as Creepshow, I can tell you that. Creepshow is amazing. But you know, I wanted it to be a love letter to those kind of horror anthologies. You know, and I do little nods, just like in the trailer, for example. You know, some people may pick up on it, but like when the Terror Tales logo falls on the screen, we hear the dun 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 dun, a classic horror tune, but that's played in the old school Tales from the Crypt opening intro. So little nods like that I like to give to some of the horror anthologies of yesteryear.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Lorene Landon is watching this evening. She's paying attention to everything that's going on, and I love it. Hello, Lorene. How you doing? Don't forget, she's going to be with us tomorrow night, which is really exciting. Really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. You know, so let's talk a little bit about Terror Tales. You know, not just a little bit, but you really have some amazing people in it. You've got Lorene Landon, you've got Ellen Udy, you've got Ari Lehman, Miss Lowry. You got all kinds of wicked people that are just great talent. You know, they did some amazing movies way back in the day, and you brought them together. I mean, and you know, I'm really excited about watching the whole thing. I just can't, you know, and I apologize that I haven't seen it, but it's going to be good when I do. Because I love all of these actors. Growing up as a child into an adult, a young adult, going to the theater, you know. So tell us a little bit about it. And is it like Creepshow? Is it very much like Creepshow?
It is. It is like Creepshow in the sense that there's kind of like there's a wraparound story, you know. So there'll be that opening story that's separate from, you know, each of the tells, but there's, you know, something that segs way into the next tell.
Okay.
So where it's a little bit different than Creepshow is the wraparound story has more of an emphasis in it. And in fact, an obscure anthology that I kind of like to compare it to in terms of narrative is this one called After Midnight. And what I thought was very interesting with that is it took the time to really focus on that wraparound story. And about the first 15 minutes is of the wraparound story. And then that movie's crypt keeper, so to speak, starts divulging the first tell. And then they cut back to that wraparound story. He tells the next tell. Wraparound story, next tell, and then it, you know, it finishes off in a cool, satisfying way, I felt. And so I thought that would be interesting. That's not done a lot, because with a lot of anthologies, the wraparound story is just kind of tacked on in a way to segue into each tell. And so with our wraparound story, it is very fleshed out, and it very much is its own tell. So it's technically 4 stories. The wraparound being one of them, and then the 3 stories told within. And it's got a shock ending that I don't think people are going to see coming, which is exciting. That wraps up the wraparound story. But in terms of Creepshow and like that, of course, definitely that structure of stories like Creepshow, and that was one of the biggest things on my mind making the movie was Creepshow.
Oh yeah, and you know, Creepshow. You know, I saw that in the theaters, and oh man, you know, you go to these movies whenever you're a kid, and you're not like the horror then compared to now. Wow, I mean, you guys are the independent filmmakers and all that. The new filmmakers that are coming out are just wow. It just amazes me. And you know what? With the bigger productions, you know, you're talking about CGI and stuff like. I mean, you know, when you got a film that's of an organic nature, you know, do I have something? Okay, sorry. I was just wondering if I'm bleeding here, aren't I? I've been bleeding all night. Sorry. The organic nature of your film is, from what I've seen on the trailer, with just like, it's what people want to see. And when you were you going for that effect?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And part of the throwback feels, so to speak, and you know, and love letter to those old school anthologies, and in general, when we make horror films, we love to do practical with anything that we can. Now, what's great with technology nowadays and with filmmakers nowadays is you can, you know, have a nice marriage between practical and digital.
Oh, yeah.
And I think sometimes people rely too heavily on CGI when they could have, you know, just done it practical and it would look better. So, you know, one thing I remember we did on Hans Crippleton, which was a cool practical effect that kind of combined the CG world, is we had the Mama Crippleton character doing this head smash with two zombies where she smashes their heads together, and you see blood and guts and brain bits fly up into the screen. So what we did on set is we had just filmed it raw, and she's just bloop, putting the two actors in zombie makeup, their heads together to create that effect. And then in post, me and Kevin, we had mushed up, like chopped up bananas and different pieces that we get mushy, gross brain matter mixed with blood. And we put up a green screen, and Kevin would, in his bathroom at his apartment, and Kevin would fling up pieces of brain, what we made to mimic the brains, and we'd put it up and light it and put it up, throw it up in front of the green screen, and Kevin would be off camera throwing that stuff up. So then we could, Kevin overlaid that in the post process, and so you see, and on top of the footage we saw on set, so we were able to create that later to make it look like their brains had smashed together. And it flew up. So rather than using CG blood or like a CG brain or something, we tapped into that digital side, but used a practical technique to overlay it into the footage, which turned out really well. And we've done that several times in Terror Tales as well, that kind of process.
Yeah, and hang on, just let me take a little bite. I really need to get my protein.
We're just talking about brains, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you had that brain frappuccino at Starbucks? It's like a zombie brain frappuccino.
You know, a friend of mine just did a blog about that in Orlando, and he was saying it tasted disgusting, but it couldn't be any worse.
I tried it yet, like green apple, or I don't know, but it looks interesting.
Yeah, something like that.
So eating a fish.
We're going to go to Terror Tales and talk a little bit about the awesome cast members that you have. Just give us a little backstory of each character if you can. So, lovely Lorene Landon, she plays Miss Tate, and she's on tomorrow, and I can't wait. You don't have to give too much because she's going to explain a lot of it tomorrow, but just give a little bit of, and how amazing was it to work with her?
It was an absolute joy to work with Lorene. What I liked the most about, one of the greatest parts of that experience was I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, I'd written the character, and she had read it over. And what she had did is she had made what was written and took it to the next level. I didn't know what that next level was until she was on set. We discussed her character a little bit and things like that. I knew she was going to bring a little stuffed animal puppy that she ended up calling and she had stayed in character. So, and again, she'll go into more detail, but when she was at the airport, she'd tell me how she brought her service or the dog, the stuffed animal dog with her, and the security was looking at her, and she brought it onto the plane, and it was such a hilarious story. And I remember too, when I was taking her to her hotel and checking her in, she had the stuffed animal dog with her in a little carry case. So the receptionist person thought it was a real dog and was asking if she said that we couldn't accept dogs, and Lorene was like playing it up like it was real, and then finally she's like, just kidding, and then she saw the receptionist saw it was just like a fake stuffed animal. But we used that in the film and for her character. So the day of, she knew all her lines, everything. I call action and just let the camera roll for pretty much each of the takes. We maybe did one or two takes until we got the entire scene. But it's one of those, I kind of think of it as like a Quentin Tarantino scene, or like an opening of Reservoir Dogs kind of scene, where there's this really great dialogue, but it's a long bit of it. And so this is the kind of scene I feel that I could just let play for the 5 straight minutes of Lorene's performance. And I'm with Rhett Schaefer, who plays the detective, and he did an amazing job as well. And just let that scene play out with very little cutaways, and just because her performance just brings you in like that, and you guys will see that. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I really can't wait to talk to her tomorrow night. It's going to be great as well. So let's move on to Helen Udy, sorry, and she's going to be on Sunday, and she's also a wonder. Hey, you know what's great about these two? They're both from Canada, man.
Oh,
One's from Toronto, the
yeah.
other one's from Montreal, and I'm here in Niagara Falls, man. It's great. So let's talk about Helen and you know what her role is in the movie. I believe she's not really. You don't know what her name's going to be. Is that to be announced or?
Well, that's what's kind of hilarious is Helen for maybe almost a year now. I got to say, she's the last scene for the film or in our insert that we need to get for it, which we're finally going to get. Next week when we're out in California, and so her scene is going to be a very crucial scene to the epidemic segment, which is the last segment of Terror Tales. It's a possession segment, and so she's going to be playing a news reporter, and she's going to be tying together this kind of mass hysteria that's been created within the segment. And she's going to tie it into, you know, possessions being reported in Japan or like Russia. You know, she's going to be the scene in there that kind of, you know, really shows how shit has hit the fan with this possession outbreak, this epidemic outbreak of possessions being reported across the nation. And I don't want to spoil the ending of her scene, but that's going to be a lot of fun to finally get that scene shot and plug it in.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said, I can't wait to hear what she's going to say. She can't talk too much about it, but I mean, regardless, I mean, it's good to get your point of view, and then we'll get her point of view. And you better call her and let her know, sort of.
Yeah, I know. Right? Yeah, we were talking a little bit last week. Absolutely.
So just this year, I had the pleasure of interviewing another cast member, Felissa Rose, at Shockstock in London, Ontario. And oh my gosh, Felissa is, man, is she amazing. She was so gracious, so much fun. She's so much fun at the tables. And I can't say any story. I mean, I could ask her. I've got the video of it, and it's really funny. But I should ask her if I could post it sometime. But talk a little bit about her character. She plays the witch in the movie. And yeah, just a little bit. Give us a little tidbit about it.
Yeah, I agree. Felissa Rose is amazing. She's a very passionate and energetic, and she loves her fans, and she's very humble and very open, and she brought all of that to set. And then of course you call action, very professional, very into her character, and yeah, it was amazing getting to work with her. And I credit her for one of the most messed up scenes that always stayed with me, you know, as a kid. And of course, Sleepaway Camp with that ending scene. And those who've seen it, about those who haven't, see Sleepaway Camp. That ending will mess you up. And so, you know, so it's amazing when you're an adult and you grew up on these films. You get to work with so many of these horror icons that, you know, you've loved their work since a kid. And Felissa was definitely one of them. Also, what was exciting is when me and Felissa were chatting about the role. She had always wanted to play a witch, and I think she had one written for her previously, but it didn't go through. And so, yeah, so it was exciting to be able to, you know, have her play a witch for the first time in Terror Tales, that she's always wanted to play a witchy character, and she, you know, hit it out of the ballpark. And it's also, to my knowledge, the first scene of Felissa and Ari together in a scene, which is really cool. And of course, Ari was the first Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th. And those two chemistry was awesome. And so that scene in Terror Tales is again going to be in Epidemic. And it's a flashback scene to the 16th century, where we kind of start to, you know, show the audience the source of this epidemic and these possessions that are happening in the modern time. And that's also where we introduce Jan Birch's character, he plays Satan, and Jan's character is definitely the culprit and the carrier of this of the possessions taking place. Yeah, so it was really cool, and we shot Jan's scene separate. I wish I could have had them all three at the same time, but we shot Jan separate, but, you know, we edited it into Ari and Felissa's scene. So, you know, it looks like they're all three there, when in actuality it was just Felissa and Ari.
Yeah, no, and it's funny that I was going to ask you finally about Ari, and then we're going to get on to your special little thing that you're going to do for us here. You got something really cool that you want to share with the people. Ari Lehman, I've had him on this show a few times, and he's a wonderful guy. You know what? I really like him. I wish he'd get back to me faster, but you know what? He's busy. I get it. Ari,
acting.
Ari, if you're sorry, oh yeah, absolutely. Ari, if you're watching, don't forget, when you come here, I want to get that hot sauce. Ari sells hot sauce. Oh my gosh, it's wicked. So he's coming here November 24th, and he's doing some pop culture night here. It's going to be fantastic. So talk a little bit about Edmund Blackburn and his character. If you could just give us a little tidbit about what Ari did. And then after this, you got something to share with everybody. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to show you guys an exclusive clip from the Radical Video segment of Terror Tales, which is my personal favorite because I have a huge love for the 80s and that era and the video stores of that time period. And again, the Radical Video segment is my love letter to the video stores of yesteryear. So I'll show you guys that in a moment, an exclusive clip. And as far as Ari, absolutely. So his character, he plays a witch hunter. And he goes after Felissa's character we see in the flashback scene, and he finds out that she kills his brother, so he's out for revenge. And so, without spoiling too much, he gets a group of people together, a group of villagers. They go storming after, a very classic kind of Frankenstein style. They find her, string her up, and Felissa's doing a ritual and a seance while, you know, he's gathering the men and all that, and she's summoning Satan to Earth. And so they get there a little too late. The seance has already been completed, and you know, at the end of that scene, we see that's when Satan comes to Earth. Yeah, so I don't want to spoil too much from there, but that's how his character is involved there, and it's a really cool scene. And again, we tie it into the rest of the movie a little bit later in the segment.
Oh, great. And so we got a question, one more question about Lynn Laurie. Just tell us a little bit about her too, so that we, you know, I know there's so many we could talk about, but just give a little.
I agree, and especially our local cast too is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Lynn Laurie, she was in the first segment by proxy, and that was the first segment we shot, and Lynn was phenomenal. And with actors in general, I like looking at their demo reels and auditioning in person, and characters in mind, and so I can get a really good idea, you know, if they're going to be able to, you know, get what I'm going for the character, and if I can get that performance out of them. So with Lynn, she had shown me it was a 10-minute video that she sent me, and she's telling a story. And she did such an amazing job, just her range of emotions, you know, from scared to caring to, you know, to stoic, but just all these different beats in her performance. And I knew she would be really good for a character in the by proxy segment that, you know, has lost their son. And so she's grieving, but she's also being accused of having a mental condition called Munchausen by proxy. And so, you know, I knew she can kind of get into that mindset of a character that would have this condition. And, you know, and from there, you know, it's kind of up to the audience until they're getting the answer. You know, is she responsible for her son's murder? Does she have this condition? Does she not? You know, so it was, yeah, she did amazing at conveying all this range of emotions for the character. And you guys will really see that. Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks a lot. So we're really looking forward to it coming out. And you know what? Let's go with your clip.
Okay.
And if you could just set it up for us and tell everybody, this is an exclusive right here on Rockinboxes Presents. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so bear with me. I'm going to adjust the webcam a little bit. We're going to show it off the TV, so it's not going to be the best of quality, but you guys will get the point. And like I said, it's a scene from the Radical video segment, and you're going to get a glimpse of Jonathan Tiersten, who is also from Sleepaway Camp, and another indie film called The Perfect House. And you'll see his character, the Sledgehammer, here in a moment. And you'll also get a taste of some of our 80s flair and set design in this clip. So let me get this adjusted. And
while you're doing that, I'm going to have some more brains.
Nom, 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 nom.
Oh, so good. So good. So all my guests that are on the end here that are talking in the live broadcast, Lorraine's a lot of fun, and she's having a lot of fun with everybody, which is great. And, you know, this Nights of Halloween has been fantastic. We're just waiting for Jimmy to get his setup, an exclusive right here on Rockinboxes Presents. I'm very, very excited about it. And, you know, don't forget, every night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, just come on out and, you know, we go live throughout the events. And, Jimmy, you let us know when you're ready to go.
Okay,
So,
we're about ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you are. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
You have a volume.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is from a rough cut version of it, so there'll be some audio missing and whatnot, but you guys will get the idea.
I love the 80s look, buddy. I love the 80s look.
How's it going? I noticed your lights were still on. Just wanted to let you know that I'll be parked out front for another couple of hours before my shift ends. Oh, thanks, officer. And here I thought you just wanted to rent a couple movies. Officer Rodriguez, which 20? Officer Rodriguez, this is Detective Stevens. What's your 20? Shit.
And there we have it. So, yeah, so what you guys just saw there was...
that was wicked. Thank you.
Yeah, so what you guys saw there, the Tiffany character who was working out, she was on the phone. She's basically calling her husband Blaine at the video store. Towards the end, the sledgehammer has shown up, and the detective, you know, he's checking in on the cop who got the sledgehammer to the head. And like I said, we're adding in sound effects and all that good stuff. But yeah, but that's the scene I wanted to show you guys, and it leads into the climax of the film.
And that's called Spirit Running. Is that correct?
This one is this is the Radical video segment of Terror Tales.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh no.
I wanted to make sure that. No problem. Thanks for sharing that with the people. Like, I mean, you know, there's people saying, "Wow, this is what it's all about," and you know, you don't get that on regular broadcasts. It's well, unless it's a big show like Jimmy Fallon or whatever the hell.
Oh, right.
What's his name? Jimmy. Not Jimmy Lee Combs. Jimmy Lee Combs. Only on the.
No, I don't have my own show yet.
So I was going to ask you just before you played that clip. Do you think there'd be a sequel to Terror Tales at all, or you know?
Absolutely. I would love to do a sequel to Terror Tales, and especially if it's well received. You know, there was a handful of actors that I wasn't able to work with on Terror Tales that I really wanted to, like Leanne Curtis from Critters 2. She was going to be in the film, but there was a conflict with SAG, and you know, our thing being a non-union kind of thing. So yeah, so I'd love to work with Leanne. We also talked with Joe Pilato, who was Rhodes from Day of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it would be fun to, you know, do another one and kind of keep with this, you know, bringing in iconic horror actors and giving them good roles in each of the segments. And yeah, I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, that's great. And where will Terror Tales actually come out? Where will it be shown where people can start seeing? Because it's still in the works, right?
Yeah. So we're in the process of actually, you know, selling the film, and like I say, as we're, you know, doing the final touches in post. And so we're going to American Film Market next month, or next month is already going to be here, next week. And that's going to be a lot of fun. We already have some distributors who want to take a look at the film, and so we're going to get that sent over to them, and see if something happens next week. And if so, you know, I think I'm pretty confident to say you'll be able to see it in Walmart and store shelves. Of course, you know, Amazon, Google Play, Hulu, all the video on demand ones. And then from there, you know, we'll see if it ends up striking a Netflix deal or anything like that. You know, it may get a small theatrical run, which would be very exciting. Yeah, but it's definitely getting close to the finish line and getting it released, which is really exciting because it's been a labor of love over the years. Are you still there, Sean? Ooh, please stand by. Technical difficulties. Oh,
Hey, there you are. There he is.
Hey guys, we're back.
We're back. We're back. My goodness. Hey, what? You know what? I figured it out. Okay, thank you. We figured it out.
Okay. Woo.
All right, guys. I hope we didn't lose anybody. I'm really sorry. My internet crashed. I don't know what the hell happened.
Technology.
Technology. Okay, so all right, guys. Thank you very much for sticking with us. And I'm not going to be able to see the comments at this moment, but so you have 7 credits to your name. Everybody, I'm really sorry. So you have 7 credits to your name, and we'd like to know about Bored as Hell. One of them that you have, Bored as Hell. Talk a little bit about that one. That sounds really interesting.
Absolutely. Again, another horror comedy, much like Hans Crippleton, Talk to the Hans, and is co-created by me and Kevin. And what was hilarious with that one is we were shooting another short film I had done called Evil Lurks in Innocence that was for a contest. And I had Satan in that segment, and it was a serious kind of possession short. And so the actor we had playing Satan, Heath Hine, is a really hilarious guy. And he's a very diverse actor and very kind-hearted guy, one of the sweetest people I know, and he's also one of the funniest guys that I know. I always joke and say he's like our own personal Jim Carrey, because he's really that funny. And so it was interesting to get him in Satan makeup, and he's playing serious Satan, and and he's bursting through bodies and all this crazy stuff. But what had happened is in between takes, he would just say in the most funniest random things, and he would do things in like this accent, and just really be silly with Satan. And so I was joking. I'm like, oh my gosh, we should just turn this into a comedy because this is too funny. We've got to do something with a hilarious Satan character, a web series, something. And so that's when me and Kevin got to talking, and we got together as a partner and started throwing around ideas and whatnot. And Kevin was writing the bulk of the episodes. And yeah, and then so we went into production on that, and we kept a lot of the same flavor from Hans in sense of being politically incorrect and not censoring ourselves too much, and just making statements in a fun way, and things like that, and kind of South Park humor and style. And yeah, and that's originally we were going to do 10 episodes for a season 1. So there's technically 10 episodes written out there, and they'll start bleeding into a season 2. But season 1 consists of 6 episodes, and we did a screening of it at a local theater here called the Bug Theater, and everybody was really responsive to it and laughing at all the right parts. And yeah, it was a really fun production, and we had brought back a lot of people that we've worked with on Hans Crippleton, and a lot of people that I'd like to consider part of our film family at Heart and Fire Productions, and so it was fun getting the gang back together on Bored as Hell, and even a lot on Terror Tales too, but more so with Bored as Hell. I really feel that when you're having such a good time making a film or a web series in this case, that the audience ends up seeing that love and fun that went into it. And so there was a lot of good times behind the scenes of Bored as Hell, and a lot of laughs. And it was the same thing it was like on Hans Crippleton. And even some reviewers pointed that out on Hans, that they could feel it was there was a lot of love put into it, and we had fun making it. And it was a joy to kind of replicate that again with Bored as Hell. And I feel with Bored as Hell too, it's going to be it's going to be more appealing to the masses, I feel, and more people it'll bring in. Whereas Hans was more of a kind of like a trauma group, just like a more smaller group of horror fans. Yeah, but and then and we got Satan coming to Earth, which is hilarious. So he's got to adapt to life on Earth because he's getting bored as hell, which is a play on the Bored as Hell title. And so he's got to get a job. He ends up getting a girlfriend, and it's so hilarious when you watch it, because he just kind of blends in, and I think it's kind of a statement on society itself nowadays, that kind of anything goes. So,
Yeah.
so it's like if Satan really was walking the earth, he'd probably be walking by and somebody just be giving Satan a high five. So, and you kind of see that, throughout the episodes, that he just kind of blends in like an everyday Joe. But it's funny the situations he finds himself in. And so and then going forward with that, I always had an idea of Satan going to Vegas in Sin City, and like kind of like a road trip thing with Satan, getting to Las Vegas and doing his shenanigans there, which would be hilarious. So it's a really great character, and the design of it too. I think it's one of Kevin's best that he's designed and done makeup work for. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you talk about Sin City and all that, because I mean, perfect place for the devil to be, actually.
Oh, absolutely.
They live there anyway. He lives
Exactly.
there anyway. But from the research that I did on you, you have this creative, amazing spirit when it comes to some of the things that I looked you up on. And where does that come from? And was it always something that I mean, even though you loved we all loved all those movies. Summer School was one of my favorites way back when I first saw Friday the 13th in the theater. When I saw Friday 13th 2, I just went all the time. And you know what? You really do have a great creative spirit. So where does that come from? Who inspires you?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say it definitely comes from childhood. I've movies have always been a big part of our family, and in cinema, like I said, whether it's action movies or drama or horror, whatever. I've grew up heavily with movies in my life, and especially horror. And I've always loved to tell stories, and scary stories, especially. I remember in maybe like third grade, and you could get away with things like this more back then. Things are so politically correct now, you'd probably get sent home. But there was an episode of Tales from the Crypt, the HBO series, and it was about this restaurant owner who was killing his customers and cooking them up and serving them to the other customers. And I always really liked that episode. So when it was like story time in school, I wrote a story and did the drawings with it, and it was called Meat Cleaver People. And it was basically the same premise. This chef hacking up his customers and feeding them to the other customers. And so so I've always had a flair for storytelling. And so as I got older, especially right around 18, I started thinking, oh man, I can maybe do something with this, and I really wanted to start getting into acting as well, and storytelling and screenwriting. And so I started seeing, well, what's the process of a film? Where does it all start? And of course, it starts with a script. And I love to tell stories, so I started learning screenwriting and bought like a Sid Field DVD to learn the structure of it, and over the years I've gotten other books by like Blake Snyder and Save the Cat and things like that. And just started learning the craft of screenwriting, and took acting classes. And there was a film that came in from California called The Surfer King, and they filmed it at Waterworld. It was a low budget film, but it still had Alan Thicke in it and Lindsay Wagner, so it had some pretty big names in it too, for a low budget film. And I was an extra in that, and that's what started really getting me fascinated with behind the scenes, and that was inspiring too, to see how a film was made and put together. And so that's when I started, on student films and stuff. As I was acting, I wanted to start getting more hands-on behind the scenes, and so I started getting experience that way, in front of the camera and behind the camera. And then there was a filmmaker who was really inspiring to me. His name was Ford North. And I was working on a short film of his called The Awakening. And on that film, I had a brief role in it, but I ended up taking on a producer role in it too, and taking over for the producer role on that project. And I learned a wealth of knowledge. And at that point, I was faced with the big question every filmmaker, needs to ask themselves and decide what they're going to do, and that's whether to go to film school or go out there on your own, Rodriguez, Tarantino style, and just make films, make the mistakes, learn from them, keep making films. And so I talked to this director, Ford, and I was very close to going to film school, and he had kind of talked me out of it in a good way, because I thought heavily about going out on my own, making movies, outside of film school, and and I definitely don't regret that decision. And he had some really good points. And it's nothing against film school. You get a lot of value out of film school, I feel. And I know if I would have went, I probably would have been on the fast track sooner. But yeah. So then from that production, I had learned such a good amount of knowledge that I felt, okay, I think I can do this on my own. And this was late 2006, and then going into early 2017 or 2007. And so at that point, I'm like, all right, I want to start a production company. I'm going to call it Heart and Fire Productions.
Nice.
And I'd got that name from Rocky, as a matter of fact.
There you go, Adrian.
And that's very inspiring. It's my favorite movie. It's very go for it. I love that motivational bit and stuff, and the underdog. And so in Rocky 5, there's a scene where he's taking Tommy Gunn under his wing, and he's training him, and he's prepping Tommy for a fight that he's getting ready to go into, and he's telling him, it's not about beating this guy with muscle. It's about heart and fire, heart and fire. That always resonated with me. And, I knew when I created Heart and Fire Productions that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make whatever I was going to make or film, I was going to do it with heart and fire and put my all into it. And, it was also a point in my life where, I came out of a really hot and heavy, serious relationship. And, it didn't go well. And I had a story that I wanted to vent and express through writing. And so I wrote a short film, based on that relationship. And what was great with that, it was more, very therapeutic for me. But I don't think it really clicked until one of the guys on set came up to me, and he was like, "Wow, man, I can really relate to this script and what's written here. I've gone through this kind of situation." And so that was great. And I think that really solidified that, I wanted to make films too that, people could relate to and connect with the audience. And you'll see over the years I've made, serious and dramatic pieces or romantic drama pieces, in addition to, my horror and horror comedy stuff. And so here we are now, still making films, and 2 features under our belt, and a web series and a handful of shorts. And it's been a great journey. One thing that was really great to do is there was a screening a couple years ago, and I was able to show my body a work from the very beginning to now. And so as a filmmaker, it's really rewarding to see that you're getting better and better and better. And like I said, you're always going to make mistakes. You learn from them on the next one. You make new mistakes, learn from those. But it was great to see a progression of quality, storytelling, technique, you name it. Everything has gotten stronger and better over the years.
Wow. Great. Yeah, no, that was very, very well put. And it's interesting after, the way you named your company, because I'm a huge Balboa fan and saw all those movies in the theater as well. Geez, I'm telling you, like we both have the same kind of way of thinking. I mean, when, obviously look at my face. I mean, I used to dress like this when I'd go to school sometimes. No, I'm kidding. But we would pull those pranks. And when Summer School came out with, Dean Cameron and Gary Riley and, Mr. Shoop and the whole bit.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really great scene, Yep.
With chainsaw and they prank the classroom like everybody's dead, and it scares the hell out of them. And it was just the special effects classmates that rigged it all up. I'm very fond of that movie. Yes, that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're gonna try and get Dean on the show as well. Yeah, so let's go back. There's a question that came in a little while ago, and I'm pretty sure that Aaron is still with us. Jimmy, you do a great job telling stories across multiple genres. Which genre would you say is the most challenging to do?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say, for me personally, I would say comedy is the most challenging for me to do. Some may say it's the most easy, but you know, in that regard, it's just that kind of that fear. Oh my God, is this funny? Is, you know, am I the one who thinks this is funny? Is this going to make people laugh? You know, so I would say comedy personally is the most challenging. Now, you know, whereas like drama is incredibly easy for me to write, and you know, I have an endless amount of stories I can write about that. But what can be a challenge with that is, you know, okay, is what you're writing about, you know, is it going to resonate with people, or are they going to get bored with this, or are they going to, you know, be, this is too close to real life. You know, I want to come to a movie to get escape from real life. You know, there's things like that, and that's why, you know, horror is, you know, is such a, can be such a safe bet. I'm not saying it's like a fallback or anything, but you know, horror is, you know, totally escape from reality and just a fun way to have, you know, get scared. But yeah, to answer your question, I would say comedy, but that's more from a personal perspective. Just that fear of, oh my God, what if this isn't funny?
Oh, great. And thanks a lot, Aaron, for asking that. And someone said, don't call me Francis. He called me Francis, man. So I got like 2 more questions for you. One would be, or who would you like to work with if you could? A director, some actors that you haven't worked with? You know, I'm sure Stallone is probably on your list, but who would you like to really work with, you know, in the business that doesn't matter what it is?
Absolutely, yeah, that's true. That is a really good question because there are so many. You know, Robert Rodriguez, of course, comes to mind because I'm a big fan of his work and his style, and I feel my style clicks a lot with Rodriguez's style, and so yeah, so he'd be definitely tops on my list. Of course, Tarantino is up there. You know, there's and there's an endless amount of actors as well. But to name a few, of course, Stallone. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and wow, can't believe we're at the end almost. This has been great. I apologize about that break. I'm not even sure. My internet just crashed. Like you said, technology, huh? One other question that comes in. How do you feel about the paranormal? Have you ever done anything? Have you ever gone in any investigations? Tell us about any experiences that you might have had.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One story that comes to mind that was recent, and I've always been a believer of the supernatural, and I've had personal experiences that have made me a believer. You know, other people can be non-believers. That's fine. That's their thing. But I've had personal encounters, and so when that happened recently, is I was in another state doing a fun film camp for kids, and I'll leave some names out, but I was staying in this trailer as you know, one of the persons who was heading up the production. I was staying in the trailer while we were scouting locations and whatnot. And so the first night there, I'm alone in there, and you know, I'm just kind of sitting like this. You know, I got my little tablet and stuff with me and doing some work, and there's like a long hallway the trailer, and it just kind of felt like something was down that hallway. You just look and you think you see something or something. So I just kind of started getting this off feeling, and you know, one of the times I look up, there was this the shadowy figure runs by quick. It was from the bathroom of the trailer to one of the doors that exit out of the trailer, and I could make it out. It was the shape of like a person, but it was a shadowy figure. It was just this quick glimpse. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm getting tired, or whatever. And then you know, so then as it comes time to go to bed, I'm going in the room. I click off the lamp, and I'm laying there, and maybe like just like a minute in, if that, you know, I hear a click again, and it was the exact same noise that the lamp made. So it sounded like somebody was trying to turn the lamp on, but the lamp wouldn't come on. So I'm like, what the hell? And then in the closet in the room, I start hearing like these kind of like, it's like one of the glass sliding door kind of closets, and I start hearing like a scratching, kind of sound in the closet. I'm like, what the hell is this? I jump out of bed and looking in there. I'm like, this is getting really weird. And then like 3 minutes later, I hear that like clicking noise again of the lamp, like somebody's turning it on. Of course, nobody's in the room. The light's not coming on. So I'm getting freaked. And then I decide to go sleep out in the living room area on the sofa. I'm like, all right, forget this room. And so that was a little bit better. But, you know, again, just hearing like weird noises throughout the night. It was very unsettling, man. It was, and it was hard to sleep. And the previous person who had lived there, because I'd made a Facebook post just saying, hey, you know, creeping myself out here, hearing noises. It was like a selfie. And the person who used to stay there messaged me and was like, oh my God, you know, you're not going crazy. Like she had the same experiences that I was encountering. And what was really freaky was the next morning. I'm taking a shower, and at that point I'm just like, want to get my stuff, you know, get on with the location scouting, just want to hurry and get out of here. And so I'm taking a shower, and midway through I just hear like this stomp, like somebody, like, you know, stepping foot into the bathroom, but very loud. Yeah. And I pulled that curtain back, my heart just like jumped out of my, and it's just pounding. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to get out of here. So I get out of the shower. But I heard like somebody in there, and it was just one of those things with the person who used to live there. Like she was, you know, explaining things that I hadn't even told her yet that had happened. So there was definitely some supernatural stuff going on in that trailer that scared the hell out of me. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I know. Right? Yeah, it was spooky, man. I was like, I'm not staying in this trailer. We come back to film this thing. I'm not staying in there. Luckily, we didn't have to. But yeah, it was freaky.
Thanks for sharing that with us. It's really cool. So you know what, man? We have come to the end, and unfortunately, I could talk to you all night long. You're wonderful.
Same, man. Same.
It's been a great night. You know, these brains are still as tasty as they were when we started, man.
Super fresh.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. So, from Tribulation Studios and Rockinboxes presents, we'd like to thank Jimmy Lee Combs for coming out. Jimmy, please tell everybody about Terror Tales quickly, when it's expected to come out. Are you looking for somewhere for it to show, as well as you know, where everybody can find you?
Absolutely. Yeah, so Terror Tales, like I said, we're going to see how we do at the American Film Market next week. And, you know, I'd like to definitely put together some kind of LA screening for it and get together all our awesome actors that have been in the film, and have some kind of screening like that, theatrical, for it. And I would imagine, you know, maybe a early to spring release for Terror Tales. Doesn't seem too unrealistic. You know, we'll see what kind of distribution deal we land for it and whatnot. But yeah, but it's coming up, and you can follow the film at facebook.com/terrortalesmovie, terrortalesmovie.com. Also heartandfireproductions.com. You can check out all my projects and work on that website as well. And on Facebook, Jimmy Lee Combs, Instagram and Twitter, you know, Terror Tales Movie. So you know, we're all over social media.
That's fantastic. So tomorrow night, as everybody knows, here 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Please join us with Lorene Landon, also a cast member from Terror Tales and many movies, projects, Airplane 2, you name it. She's done oh my gosh, I can't even. This is going to be a great interview. And you know, from me to everybody, to all the viewers, thanks for joining us. As I always say, be good to one another. Don't fall apart like I have tonight. Make sure you guys take care of each other. And, you know, to Tribulation Studios and Jerry Potter, fantastic work you've been doing this week, tirelessly getting these things out. And I'm so glad everybody joined us this evening. A final word from Jimmy, and that's it. We're out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. You want me to give my final word? Or?
Just whatever you want. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, the biggest thing I want to say is thank everybody involved with all of our Heart and Fire productions over the years. Without the amazing cast and crew, especially all of those local here in Colorado, couldn't have made any of these a reality without you guys. And yeah, just can't tell you enough how thankful I am. Of course, my mom and dad for all of their support, which has been huge.
Absolutely.
And, give a shout out to my kids, Jackson and Ireland. I love them. They give me something to live for. And yeah, guys, keep on dreaming and go out there and make it a reality.
Very well said. Stay with us, Jimmy. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Rockinboxes Presents. Oh, yeah.